Hello there guys, welcome to another my live video. So Ryan Giggs has come out and he does believe that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does need more time at Manchester United. He did also come out not too long ago and he did say that Manchester United do need another 4 or 5 more signings, if the glory days are to return at Manchester United. Now obviously Ryan Giggs obviously was a long serving player for Manchester United. He served 24 years at the football club as a player. In total, he made 963 appearances for Man United in all competitions and scored 168 goals. And of course, with the football club, he won 13 Premier League titles. He won 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 2 Champions League. So won a lot of honours as a Manchester United player. And I think Ryan Giggs now is around 45 years of age. Obviously, don't forget he was interim manager of the football club back in 2014. Towards the back end of that particular season. Obviously, he did come in as the interim manager for a short period of time after the sacking of David Moyes, and then I think after that he was the assistant for Manchester United for a couple of years. But yeah, that's Ryan Giggs' overarching view on it. But you're still getting certain Manchester United fans, and like I said, you're getting some former Manchester United players. You're also getting certain pundits that are still actually backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and do believe that the club do need to give him more time. You've obviously had Rio Ferdinand recently come out as well, who was also a long-serving player for Manchester United, and he says Manchester United, would be naive to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he believes, Manchester United should stick with him. You got Gary Neville, of course, coming out the other week, actually, criticising the Manchester United board because he believes, due to our inconsistency, he thinks, the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, and I know that a lot of Man United fans are demanding Solskjaer out. They're also demanding Ed Woodward out the football club. But I give my overarching view on it all, and I think everyone's to blame. So it is a mixture in that aspect. But I do agree with Gary Neville on that aspect. I do believe that the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, because as we all know, the board weren't ruthless enough during the summer. They didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough as they did presume, and I just think the board have been a liability for several years. Obviously, with their poor recruitment, with their poor selection of managers. And this is why I think the board are mainly to blame, and I think the board do need to assure structural changes at the football club, and whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. The question is, are they going to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the tools and that he does need? So yeah, I think the board are mainly to blame. But like I said, a lot of the players have got to take responsibility because a lot of players have underperformed so far this season. So the vast majority of our players do need a reality check. Despite the fact that a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe there is more problematic players at the football club that do perhaps maybe need to leave in January and of course next summer. And I do believe also some of the blame does stem from Solskjaer, because obviously his tactics are questionable. I will admit Manchester United are very tactically inept, but I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could still be here by January. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's recently come out and he's privately feared that he could be sacked as Manchester United manager if we do finish out in the top 6 this season, because I did say at the end of last season, and I also mentioned at the start of this season, our expectations this season, will be to finish in that top 4, and that obviously because we want to get back into the Champions League. And I did say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got to exceed these expectations, if he's to remain in the job at Manchester United. But I've already, disregarded the top 4. I know there's still a long way to go, but we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. It's actually the worst start we've had to a season in Premier League history, basically, because obviously the Premier League's been going since, 92, 93. At the moment, we are sitting just 2 points above relegation. So you can quite frankly say at the moment, we are facing a relegation battle. Our away form's been terrible. We haven't won away from home, since the game against PSG last season. And I think it's also been revealed since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the job permanently that we have the 4th worst record in the Premier League. I think, the only teams that have got worse records than us is Brighton, Southampton and Watford, because I think we've only registered 17 points from our last 17 games, I think it is, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the job permanently. And, And I did recently say on my previous videos, I think, Manchester United, I agree with Giggs on that. I think we do need at least 5 to 6 more signings, if we are to be back to being a competitive elite level football club. And of course, if we are, to be a future title contenders. Because, like I mentioned, during the summer, we didn't address all the problematic areas. But I did say, it was going to be extremely difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. And this is why maybe some people are saying, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does need to be given a couple more windows, to see who else, he can recommend to the football club. But I'm glad during the summer, that we did address some of the problematic areas. We got that experienced centre half in, we also got that right back in. But yeah, so some people are saying, we do need to give him a couple more windows, because obviously analysing the majority of this Manchester United squad, obviously, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Actually, the majority of this team is actually, Jose Mourinho's, because obviously, Jose Mourinho recommended 11 players into the football club, and obviously now Solskjaer is inheriting the vast majority of them players. So you can still quite frankly say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding. I think also the club have assured, he will be given some money to spend in January, to see who else he can recommend into the football club. But, you can see the deficiencies in the squad, and obviously, we need to address them deficiencies. Manchester United need depth in that midfield. We need to definitely reinvest in that midfield. We need to recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer, we was in search for a right winner. I know as well, we need to, get a striker in. We need, we need an attacker in, someone that can assure us goals. We need a proven goal scorer. We need to see more inspiration in that attacking third in the pitch. And, I've got element of concerns about that attacking line, and, we need a striker in, and I think, following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, plus with the injury of Anthony Martial, I think, we are lacking in that attacking line. But yeah, there's still quite a few areas in the squad, that do need to be addressed. But Man United did spend nearly £150 million, obviously, in the summer. But I think, if Solskjaer, he's to still be here by January, like I mentioned, I think, he still wants to continue the policy of recruiting young British players, obviously, like he did do earlier on in the summer. But yeah, like I said, we're already making plans for the January window. Obviously, there is quite a lot of players on our agenda, who we could go in for in January. Obviously, recently said as well that Manchester United are prepared to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with 8 new signings within the next 2 summers, and that's if depending on if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still the Manchester United manager or not. But this is what recent reports had currently mentioned. This is what recent reports had currently mentioned, and that. But yeah, definitely further more investment is needed in the squad. But in my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure is not going to become successful at Manchester United. Obviously, overall, Solskjaer, has been at Manchester United now for around 10 months. He's been at the football club for just under a year. And I think, Solskjaer's enjoyed the difficult 7-month tenure in Manchester United. Obviously, reflecting back when Solskjaer was the interim manager in that 3-month period, he did really, really well, because obviously, the results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players, and he exceeded expectations. And obviously, Solskjaer won his first 8 games in that 3-month period. He also won 14 out of 19 in total, and he did really, really well. But since he's got the job permanently, everything, of course, has just seemed to have all gone wrong. But I think regardless if we win or lose, if we beat Liverpool or lose to Liverpool next Sunday, I think it's still being assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job is safe for this present time. So I think it's assured he's safe for at least the next couple of matches. But I still believe the board will not stick with Solskjaer. Like I mentioned, I think it was a bad mistake from the football club giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. Like I mentioned, we should have waited until the end of last season, or we should have waited at some point until this season, to decide whether to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job or not. And don't forget, Solskjaer is on a 3-year contract. But I think the only reason that Man United at this present time are sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously he was a club legend. Obviously, he was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance, and he had that proven pedigree as a player. And like I mentioned, I think if it had been any other manager now, I think there would have been sacked from the football club. But the still fans believe that Solskjaer will be gone by Christmas. But obviously, not all the blame, does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But like I mentioned, I haven't seen any improvements under Solskjaer, than what I saw under Mourinho, Van Gaal and David Moyes, and it's actually been revealed it's actually now worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era. It's even worse than what it was than it was under the David Moyes era, because like I mentioned, David Moyes only lasted 10 months at Manchester United. Obviously he had a really short tenure with the football club, and obviously he came in because Ferguson had recommended him in. But I think the David Moyes era is actually the lowest we've finished. I think we've finished 7th under the David Moyes era, and like I said, it's the lowest we've finished. Obviously as well since the Alex Ferguson era. But like I mentioned, it was bad enough last season. Last season, we finished 6th. Last season we finished 32 points behind Man City. We failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I did say, that's one of the main factor reasons, that went against us during the course of the summer. Because I said during the summer, a lot of players had element of concerns about joining Manchester United. Because obviously, when you're not in Champions League football, it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. But like I mentioned, I do believe the players we was in for during the summer, probably more than likely, will reignite our interest in some of them in January. Maybe we'll leave some until next summer. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see, who else, Manchester United can recommend in January. But like I mentioned, analysing our recruitment policy, it isn't too good, to be quite honest with you. And like I mentioned, I said at the start of, the summer that, we should orchestrate on maybe being sensible with our recruitment, because, like, I'll give a prime example, look how, sensible Liverpool have been with their recruitment in the last couple of windows, and look what position, they're in now, they're sitting top of the league, so that's just a prime example. And, with Manchester United, we always think spending big on players and, getting them Glasgow players is always going to guarantee us success, and it's not always like that, and it's been proven with us in the last 6 or 7 years. But, my element of concerns about Solskjaer is that, he hasn't got any intuition as a manager, so he hasn't really got that, managerial experience, especially, not to the highest level, because before Solskjaer came to Manchester United, obviously, he won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould. Obviously, before he was at Mould, he had a really short tenure with Cardiff. I think Solskjaer only managed, around 30 games there with Cardiff, and then obviously, ended up getting the sack because he actually, did get Cardiff relegated, and, in that aspect, it could be compatible, with Manchester United if he's to remain in the job for this season. He could end up getting us relegated. Like I mentioned, I don't think it will happen, as I do keep saying. We haven't been relegated, since 1974, which is obviously over 40 odd years ago now. But there's actually some Manchester United fans fear, that we if we had to keep Solskjaer, there's a chance, that we could go down. I've been hearing some other people saying it, but I don't think, it will currently happen. If I'm going to be quite honest with you, because like I mentioned, I think the club's too big. But like I did say, like Solskjaer recently said, we're now in a different era, with different players and different groups, that of course we are building that. This is what, he said, and he mentioned as well, like, not many teams have our, stature of obviously, playing the young players like we do. But like I mentioned, back under the Alex Ferguson era, we had a fantastic team, because Ferguson obviously, like I mentioned, controlled the transfer policy, obviously controlled a lot of the contract. Obviously, he just had that fear factor and that winning mentality, and this is why we were so dominant under Alex Ferguson, and also he developed a lot of young players, and we had great, like I mentioned just saying, we had great players under the Ferguson era and that. But we're, like I just said, this is now a different era. It's no longer Alex Ferguson anymore. There is actually still a couple of players here now from the Alex Ferguson era, but we'll never be the team that was under Alex Ferguson. Regardless of where our manager is. Even if now we had a manager with a proven pedigree to the highest level, we'd never be the the team that was under Alex Ferguson. But it's just a shame now in this generation, that managers, don't get the time, that they would like, because obviously we know now the boards lay the laws more. The boards, lay the laws down a lot more now than they do back in the old generation. Because in the old generation, managers did get the time they wanted. Because, like I said, take into account, Alex Ferguson didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United when we recommended him in from Aberdeen back in 1984. And obviously, at that current time, he was on, obviously, the verge of getting the sack. But it didn't, and look what obviously, he went and accomplished. We had 26, years of success under him. Obviously, we won the vast majority of our silverware under Ferguson. I think we won about 38 trophies under Alex Ferguson. But Solskjaer definitely, can't invoke, Ferguson's legacy, to save him at Manchester United. Obviously, Ferguson did transform Solskjaer into a winner and that. But like I mentioned earlier on the video, just hasn't got, that managerial experience. And, it has obviously been revealed how much it will cost the football club, to get rid of Solskjaer. It's only going to cost the football club, around, £7 million to get rid of him. Obviously, that's actually around half than what we paid to sack Jose Mourinho, because obviously, we paid around £20 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho. But like I did mention to you, if we'd have got Mourinho in, after Alex Ferguson's retirement, then, maybe it would have been a different scenario with Manchester United, because obviously, like Jose Mourinho was, regarded as one of the best managers in the world back in the old generation. Obviously, it reflects on the success he's had. He's got that proven pedigree in that. But I just think we recommended him in too late. We recommended him in too late. He won the Europa League and League Cup in his first season with Manchester United, but his tenure still didn't work out. Mourinho had 2.5 years at Manchester United and that, and I've already explained the reasons why it didn't work out under him. Mourinho spent a substantial amount at the football club. He spent just under 400 million. Like I mentioned, he recommended 11 players in, but it's actually no worse now under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. But so we'll just basically have to see who we can try and get in January. So, like I updated you on my recent video, I did earlier on. The video wasn't too long ago actually, but so we have got quite a few players in our agenda, who we could go in for in January. And Solskjaer is aware that obviously we need to get a few more players in. But there was a lot of talks yesterday about Moussa Dembele from Lyon. Now, I think Manchester United, were tentatively linked with him during the course of the summer. What I mean in that aspect is that, he wasn't one of our main priority targets, but we inquired about his services. According to recent reports now, Moussa Dembele feels unsettled with Lyon. He's only into his second season, though, with Lyon, is Moussa Dembele. And I think, he's become, since he joined Lyon, I think he's been a fruition for them without a shadow of a doubt. I think he scored 20 goals for them last season in his debut season. I think as it stands at the moment, he has made 41 appearances in Ligue 1 for Lyon. He has produced 21 goals, and I think in all competitions he has made I think just under 60 appearances and scored 28 goals. So he can score goals. So he has got that proven pedigree in that. So, do you think he would be the right solution for Manchester United? Do you think he would be reliable, to bring us them goals that we need? Do you think he could lead the lines? He's obviously an out-and-out number 9, is Moussa Dembele. But yeah, he's only 23 years of age, so he has still got a lot of development in him. He's under contract with Lyon until 2023. But yeah, Man United have reportedly made contact with Moussa Dembele's representatives regarding a move in the January transfer window. Reportedly, Man United are going to have to pay a substantial amount for him. I think reportedly Lyon are demanding that they want in the excess of around £71 million. Maybe Manchester United are not willing to pay this, so maybe we'll probably delay going in for him in January. Lyon did pay around £20 million to him last summer from Celtic. Obviously, like I mentioned, he had a good couple of years with Celtic. He did really, really well for Celtic. He won 2 Scottish Premierships, 2 Scottish League Cups and 2 Scottish Cups. Before he was at Celtic, obviously, he played for Fulham. He initially began his senior career with Fulham and did really, really well in that. So it's also beneficial because he's had experience of playing in the Premier League. I think before he was at Fulham, he actually was in PSG's youth system. So far, he's had a pretty decent career. So do you think he would be the right player for Manchester United? And obviously, we've seen him as an adequate replacement for Romelu Lukaku. So he's one of the players that we could go in for in January. Like I mentioned, it got reported out a couple of days ago, if you do remember rightly, from the media, that reportedly, Man United, were interested in signing James Maddison and Ben Chilwell. Obviously, they both play for Leicester, and reportedly it would be a combined value of around £130 million for both players. Again, a substantial amount. Obviously, James Maddison is predominantly an attacking midfielder. And Ben Chilwell is predominantly, I think, a left back, so he is a defender. But yeah, again, I think, James Maddison, would be the right calibre player for Manchester United. Like I said, we inquired about getting James Maddison during the summer. I think reportedly it says, we've been linked with James Maddison, since, June, which was obviously, basically, the beginning of the summer. But, he's predominantly an attacking midfielder, and I think, he's flourishing under Brendan Rodgers' guidance because he's done well so far this season. Brendan Rodgers obviously, only got appointed in as Leicester manager, earlier on this summer, and Leicester have done really, really well so far this season. Like I mentioned, they've got good attacking intent, they score goals, and I think they could get the top four this season. And I think in certain games this season, to be fair, Leicester have been unlucky. But yeah, and I think Brendan Rodgers quite a few times has played, James Maddison on the left, but he is, predominantly an attacking midfielder. Like I mentioned, James Maddison is in his second season with Leicester now. Obviously, last season he did really, really well. Was involved in 14 goals, created more chances than any other player in the Premier League. I think he did create around 100 chances, did James Maddison. He has still got 4 years left on his current deal, by the way, with Leicester. Obviously, Leicester did pay around £20 million for him last summer from Norwich, and he did, like I mentioned, had a good couple of years with Norwich. He also had a loan spell in Scotland with Aberdeen, and when he was a lot younger, he began his career with Coventry, and quite a few teams were tracking in them. And he is only 22 years of age. He is the same age, by the way, as Ben Chilwell, because Ben Chilwell is also 22 years of age. Talking about Ben Chilwell, like I mentioned, he's predominantly a left back. I don't really know much about him. I think he's been at Leicester now a number of years. I think I do recall him, having a loan spell with Huddersfield Town, Ben Chilwell. So do you think there would be the right solutions for Manchester United? So they're another two players we could go in for in January. Obviously, like I, mentioned the other day to you guys, there was a lot of talks about Mayfius Norman, who currently plays in Russia for Rostov. Reportedly did say that Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, was interested in recommending him into the football club. Well, he's actually a cheap alternative, because I think Rostov value him at around £20 million. And don't forget, it also is beneficial as well, because he's actually played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's guidance as Mayfius Norman, when he was on loan with Mould. So Solskjaer will know quite a lot about the player. Obviously, maybe Solskjaer's keen on reuniting with the player, but I think Mayfius Norman joined Rostov earlier on this summer. He is only 23 years of age. I think he's actually he's predominantly a box-to-box midfielder. Obviously, before he had that loan spell with Mould, he actually had a couple of years with Brighton, but he actually never made. I don't think he made any appearance for Brighton. I think with Rostov, he got awarded the Russian Premier League Player of the Month back in September. So he also got mentioned, not too long ago. So that's another midfielder on our current agenda. There's a possibility chance as well, that we could go back in for Jadon Sancho. Because don't forget, we was in for Jadon Sancho earlier on in the summer. Don't forget, we identified Jadon Sancho as our number one priority target back in January, but our move got scuppered for Jadon Sancho with our failure to qualify for the Champions League. And again, we are aware that, Jadon Sancho is going to cost the club a substantial amount of money. We're probably going to have to pay in the excess of around £100 million, to get, Jadon Sancho in, maybe even more. Borussia Dortmund have recently come out and said, that, well, they've actually pinpointed out and said that Jadon Sancho could leave Borussia Dortmund for a big club, because he will obviously want to spend the entirety of his career with Borussia Dortmund. I think he still remains unsure about his future. He's predominantly a right winger, is Jadon Sancho, but can also, play centrally. But, I'd love him to come to Manchester United, Jadon Sancho. I think he'd have all the attributes to succeed at Manchester United. It's also beneficial as well, because he's had experience of playing in the Premier League. Like I mentioned, he did have a good couple of years there with Man City. Obviously, never got assured first team opportunities at Man City, and obviously, this is the main factor reason why I left City to join Borussia Dortmund. And Borussia Dortmund, only paid around £7 or £8 million for him. But obviously, reflect on his impressive performances in the couple of years he's been with Dortmund, his valuation has persistently grown. He's actually now into his third season at Borussia Dortmund. I think he's made around 60 odd first team appearances, but he's a player that is good on and off the ball. He can create chances, he can score goals, he can also provide, and that's the type of calibre player that Manchester United do want. He is still under contract with Dortmund until 2022. But yeah, I'd love him at Man United because I would be excited about the prospect of him, playing alongside the likes of Rashford, Martial, and Daniel James. So I'd love him at Manchester United. Also, don't forget for the entirety of the summer, Bruno Fernandes was our main priority target. And at the time we was in for Bruno Fernandes during the summer, he did say regardless of whether Paul Pogba stays or goes, we still wanted obviously to recommend Bruno Fernandes in, but we obviously didn't end up getting Bruno Fernandes, which was obviously a huge disappointment. So yeah, we will try and obviously try and get more players in the January transfer window. But like I did mention to you, like I did mention to you, I give you the latest news recently in regards to the new director of football at Manchester United. And I did initially say, in my opinion, that's one of the structural changes that we do need at the football club, is getting a new director of footballing. Obviously, during the summer, for the majority of the summer, we was trying to get a director of footballing, and like I mentioned, there was, like quite a few former Manchester United players, linked with roles and that at the football club, because obviously Ed Woodward, was keen on recommending a new director of football, and I still think he's keen now, and he's looking to appoint a new director of footballing. And obviously, there's been a lot of talks, going on about Edwin van der Sar. Obviously, there's been more additional information, recently about it, and reportedly Edwin van der Sar's pinpointed out at sometime in his future that he would be interested in making a return back to the club. And I think Edwin van der Sar would be the right candidate to be the director of football at Manchester United, because obviously he's got that experience. Obviously Edwin van der Sar knows the traditions of the football club, and I think he would be reliable to oversee our transfer business. And obviously we are very, very happy with the work that Edwin van der Sar has done at Ajax. He's currently the chief executive at Ajax, and I think now he's into his fourth season with Ajax. But yeah, maybe he would be the right candidate to come in, and I think Ed Woodward actually identified him as his number one priority to become the new director of football. But you could arguably say if it You could arguably say if we'd have got that new director of footballing, at the beginning of the summer or midway point, or the midway point through the summer, then maybe in that aspect, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, would have been backed more. But yeah, there has been a lot of recent talks going on about Edwin van der Sar. But like I mentioned, everything needs to improve at Man United. The style of play, the brand of football's poor, the home form needs to improve. The away form needs to improve. Basically, everything, needs to improve at Manchester United. A lot of people believe us getting rid of Solskjaer, at this present time or just before Christmas, would not solve a lot of problems at the football club. But like I mentioned to there has been a list of managers on our agenda, who could replace him at the football club and that. Obviously, there's been a lot of reports stemming from the Italian press in the last couple of weeks at least, about Max Allegri, coming in as to Manchester United as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's replacement. It actually said that we made Max Allegri as our primary candidate, to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. So we've actually made him our number one priority target. Do you think Max Allegri, would be the right candidate for Manchester United. Recent reports were saying that, Max Allegri had been learning English in preparation for his potential move. Like I said, he is managerless at the moment, but, Max Allegri hasn't been managerless for that long. He only stepped down as Juventus manager at the end of last season. But obviously, Max Allegri, spent 5 years with Juventus. Obviously, won 5 Serie A's, and I think he won 4 Coppa Italians. So obviously, the vast majority of his where he won, obviously, came Juventus. Obviously, he always, like, had good players in that with Juventus. I think he developed, some players as well. Did Massimiliano Allegri. But, he's actually spent the entirety of his managerial career so far in Italy. He also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. Obviously, he at the first, before he obviously emulated up, he obviously, managed small, various Italian clubs just like he did, during his playing career. He's been managing now for just over 16 years as Max Allegri. But yeah, highly experienced, I think he's in his 50s. But I think he did recently say that he will only take the Manchester United job if he is assured, to get it within the next few weeks. That's what our recent reports had said. There's other managers that have been spoken about. Like I said, could the club possibly, reignite their interest in Mauricio Pochettino? Because, don't forget, we was in for Mauricio Pochettino for quite some time, before we recommended Ole Gunnar Solsjaker in. My only element of concern about Pochettino is that obviously, he hasn't won out in terms of silverware, Pochettino, but, he's well Premier League proven. A lot of Man United fans think he would be the right candidate, and obviously, you've got Mauricio Pochettino that is under immense pressure at Tottenham, just like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is with Man United, so in that aspect, they are compatible. And if Pochettino was to be sacked by Tottenham, and obviously, the Manchester United job came vacant for him, then I think, he would, grasp that opportunity with Pochettino. Obviously, at the time, we went in for him, he obviously, had no intentions of leaving Tottenham. Obviously at the time, and I think now if we were to reignite our interest, I think we'd have to pay 32 million in compensation, to recommend him in, despite the fact that he hasn't got a release clause in this contract, because he did sign, I think, the contract last summer, was it, of last year. He signed this new long-term contract in Pochettino. He signed a 5-year contract worth around £8.5 million pounds a year. But he's mainly done good with Tottenham. Tottenham have enjoyed a bad start to this season. They did get to their first ever Champions League final last season. Obviously, before he was at Tottenham, he had a really, really good short tenure with Southampton. Don't forget, he began his managerial career with Espanyol. So he's been managing now for just over a decade. But yeah, we could still reignite our interest in him. He's no longer the club's first choice, that's been assured. Obviously, there's some Man United fans that would like to see, Arsene Wenger come into the football club. Obviously, I think he's turned down a few Premier League offers, as you know, Arsene Wenger. What I've recently read, I think he was reportedly interested in going into the Lyon job. He was interested in, taking the mantle on at Lyon. But I think he recently said that Laurent Blanc was the favourite for that. And obviously Wenger served 22 years with Arsenal, if you do remember rightly. But yeah, a few Man United fans would like to see him come in. Obviously there has been talks about Brendan Rodgers. So who would you recommend in if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was to be sacked by the football club? But like I did mention to you, I do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects, and that, he did get rid of a lot of the deadwood, during the course of the summer. He also, he's got a lot of trust with him and his young upcoming players, which is obviously, very, very good. And he did recommend, 3 good players to the squad during the summer, which was obviously, very, very good. Now, obviously, we do know that Manchester United, have had a lot of injuries, but, you can't use that as an excuse, reflecting on our disastrous start to the season. But, we have had quite a few imperative players out of injury. But, the good news is, I think the vast majority of our players that are now injured, the vast majority of them, should, regain full fitness, for the game against Liverpool next Sunday. So I do expect, Anthony Martial to be back for next Sunday. Luke Shaw should be back for next Sunday, because obviously Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw have missed the last 7 games for Manchester United in all competitions. I think it's 7 games, obviously with injury. Martial's had a thigh injury, Luke Shaw's had a hamstring injury, and they both haven't played, since the 2-1 home defeat to Crystal Palace. And we do know, when they play, the difference, they do make in the side, when they hit top form. Like I said, Martial enjoyed a really, really good start to this season, before in his first 3 games he did well. I think he scored 2 goals and provided 1 assist. But yeah, so the good news is he's close to regaining full fitness. Martial, of course, is now into his 5th season at Man United, so he's been a long-serving player at the football club so far. He scored over 50 goals for the football club. Obviously, and also he's playing centrally this season, and I think he'll play centrally against Liverpool, definitely, because even though Martial predominantly plays out wide on the left, I think he's more effective in that central position, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But still, 23 years of age, and I think, he's starting to become a fruition now at Man United, and I think, he will succeed at the football club. He just needs to be given more time, but I still don't think, as we speak, now he has, emulated to that level, but it will still take time. Luke Shaw, like I mentioned, we know that everyone talks about, Luke Shaw being injury prone, and I do agree on that aspect. He is injury prone, but, he's totally, comparison to Eric Bailly, because obviously, Eric Bailly sustains a lot more injuries than Luke Shaw, so you can't put, Luke Shaw, to that extent of Eric Bailly's injuries and that, because Eric Bailly's very, very injury prone. But Luke Shaw, I think, regardless of his injuries and, he's sustained at United, and also with his bad spelling under Mourinho, you can quite frankly say prior to that he's had a good career with the football club. He won the double player this season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. But yeah, he does make a difference on that left-hand side, because, Luke Shaw is our first choice left-back. But yeah, they should be back. Like I mentioned, Eric Bailly won't be, because he's out until the end of December, till at the end of December with a knee injury that he sustained throughout pre-season. Like I mentioned, Fosu Mensah's still out with injury. And Wan-Bissaka, he should be definitely back for Liverpool. Obviously, he's missed the last 2 league games. He's missed the last 3 in all competitions with this illness he's had. Obviously, he has been out with tonsillitis. And Wan-Bissaka, of course, is our first choice right back. And, a lot of people believe he's been one of our most consistent signings so far, and I do agree with that, to be quite honest. I think he's going to become a success at Manchester United, is Wan-Bissaka, but, he is a very, very imperative player. And like I mentioned, we have got quite a few fullbacks in the team. You've got Bissaka, you've got Ashley Young. Obviously, you've got like the likes of Tuan Zebe, that's predominantly centre-back, but can also play as a full-back. We've got, Brandon Williams, obviously, he's a full-back, I think, predominantly. Luke Shaw, Diego Dallo, he's also a fullback. You've got Rojo that can also play as a fullback, but predominantly a centre-back. So, yeah, we have got quite a few fullbacks in the team. But, yeah, Wan-Bissaka, definitely I've been very, very impressed with him. And I think if he keeps consistency up, his valuation will persistently grow. Like I mentioned, Lindelof, he's recently been out with a back injury. He should be back for Liverpool, because I don't think his injury is too severe. Lindelof, the reason he missed the Newcastle game obviously was due to the back injury that occurred. So obviously in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle, he actually fulfilled his role, Alex Tuanzebe, alongside Harry Maguire. But Victor Lindelof has actually played the vast majority of our games this season. I think that game against Newcastle was the first league game he missed this season, I think, if I can remember rightly. Obviously, he hasn't mainly played in the cup games, Lindelof. But obviously, I think mainly this season, Lindelof and has blended in alongside Harry Maguire, fantastically well. But yeah, he should be back for Liverpool. Like I mentioned, Lingard's been out with a hamstring injury. He came off injured in the 0-0 draw with Alkmaar. He actually came off in stoppage time, and definitely Lingard's one of the players that does really need to step up to the plate. Because like I mentioned, reflecting on his status at the football club, he should be putting much more better performances out. I think now Lingard's 27, 28 years of age, so he needs to be he needs a reality check without a shadow of a doubt. Like I mentioned, about Paul Pogba, you've got recent reports circulating out saying that, it's almost assured that Paul Pogba is going to miss the game against Liverpool next Sunday due to his ongoing foot injury that has been surrounding the player for a number of weeks. Now I'm getting recent reports saying that, Paul Pogba, could play against Liverpool. He's fighting to regain full fitness, by next Sunday, and hopefully, that he can be available for the game. Paul Pogba, has played quite a lot of games this season. He has missed quite a few as well, due to injury. Paul Pogba's obviously missed the last two games for Manchester United with his injury. I think it got revealed that he had cracked his toe. He did play the full 90 minutes against Arsenal and Rochdale, but obviously the player didn't look fully fit. And analysing the majority of Paul Pogba's career at Manchester United since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016, I think he has been mainly inconsistent in comparison to his time when he was at Juventus, because he did have 4 good years with Juventus, did Paul Pogba. Now I think Manchester United have obviously become frustrated with Paul Pogba's contract and that, because reports were speculating out not too long ago, I think it was the other week, saying that Paul Pogba was demanding a substantial 600 grand a week from the football club, if he was to extend his contract at Manchester United. Now 600 grand a week obviously equates to around £30 million a year, and I just don't think Manchester United are going to be willing to meet them wage demands, because Paul Pogba on his current contract term at the moment, he's got 2 years left on it with an option of a further year, and he's on 290 grand a week, so he's on just under 300 grand a week. So in that aspect, he is one of the highest paid players at the football club. But I think Paul Pogba is one of the players, that will move on in January. If he doesn't go in January, I think he will leave next summer. And I still believe Paul Pogba's preference is to make a move to Real Madrid, and his preference was a move to Real Madrid for the entirety of the summer. But obviously, Real Madrid, didn't get Paul Pogba, and I think the main factor reason why he didn't go to Real Madrid is reflecting on the substantial amount Man United put on him, because obviously, during the summer, we wanted around £180 million. Obviously, Real Madrid were not willing to pay up to £108 million. So we was basically demanding just over double than what we paid for him from Juventus back in 2016, because we paid £89 million for him from Juventus back in 2016. But I definitely believe Real Madrid will reignite their interest in January without a shadow of a doubt. I know other clubs, inquired about getting him and that, but the main architect, was Real Madrid. I think PSG inquired about getting him, obviously, during the summer. Barcelona had inquired about getting him, but Paul Pogba confirmed early on this summer, that he wanted to lead the football club. He did say he was seeking for a new challenge and that, and I still don't think his opinions have changed. He is 26 years of age, he's Pogba. He's still got a lot of development in him. And we have seen him at his best as a Manchester United player. We saw him at his best in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solsjaker was the interim manager, and you mainly see the best of Paul Pogba, when he's 3. But I'm glad we convinced him to take the football club for now, especially with our failure to get a midfielder in, during the course of the summer and that. So yeah, very, very happy about that. But I still believe he wants to move on, does Pogba. And, I think we've spoken with Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, quite a few times, over the possibility of renewing his contract and to discuss his future at the football club. So Paul Pogba may miss the game against Liverpool. There was recent reports saying that the fitness staff, fear that he could be out until the end of October. So if that's the case, then obviously he's going to miss Liverpool, he's going to miss Partizan Belgrade, he's going to miss Norwich, and he's going to miss Chelsea in the Carabao Cup at the end of the month. So like I mentioned, we have got games coming up thick and fast. Like I did say as well, Mason Greenwood, I think, has recently, been out with a back injury. That's obviously, not good to hear. He has been out with a back injury as Mason Greenwood. And like I mentioned, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. And like I said, not all the young upcoming players, are going to become a success at the football club. But like I mentioned, I have got some element of concerns about certain young upcoming players, but I can assure that Mason Greenwood will become a success. I can also assure that Alex Tuanzebe will become a success. But maybe we should concentrate on loaning some of the young upcoming players out, because maybe they're not good enough to represent Manchester United, or maybe it'll be beneficial for them because it'll gain them more experience in that. But yeah, Mason Greenwood, has not actually yet started a game from the start in the Premier League so far this season. He has made 6 substitute appearances. But he scored He scored in the games against Rochdale and ST Castagna. In them games, he did, actually start. He only turned 18 years of age at the start of the month, and by the time Greenwood's 23, 24, I think he can be a world class centre forward for us, in my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt. But like I mentioned, so for me, there's more problematic players at the football club that do need to go. Young's one of them. Jones is one of them. Matic is one of them. He needs to be moved on. I think Bay, reflecting on the amount of injuries sustained, needs to be moved on in January or next summer. So yeah, these still players, in my opinion, that do need to leave the football club. A lot of money's being spent at Manchester United. A lot of money's being spent at the club. In all the managerial eras since Ferguson, I think an estimate, I guess, around 700 or 800 million pounds has been spent on players. And that's just under £1 billion, and that's obviously not taking into account, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. And also, we have got players on big contracts at Manchester United, don't forget. But, like I said, it's going to be a huge game next Sunday against Liverpool. It's going to be a very, very difficult game. Like I said, I think for us to have any chances of salvaging anything off Liverpool, I think we've got to play out of our skins, and we've obviously got to put a performance out. Liverpool have a 100% record so far this season. Like I mentioned, they've won 8 out of 8. They've registered 24 points from a possible 24. They're sitting 8 points in front of Manchester City. I think they're 15 points in front of Manchester United. But I know Liverpool are strides ahead of us at the moment, but that's not them. That doesn't mean Manchester United and Liverpool is still always a massive game, because obviously they are the 2 most successful clubs in England historically. Obviously, we've won 20 titles. They've won 18 Old First Divisions. Obviously Liverpool have never won the Premier League since it got named in 1992, 1993, and they haven't actually, won it overall, for 3 decades. And looking at it, Liverpool's record at Old Trafford's very, very poor. They've only won twice at Old Trafford in the Premier League in the last decade. The last time they did beat us at Old Trafford, obviously, was back in 2014. Obviously, that was back under the David Moyes era. I think Liverpool did win 3-0. But like I mentioned, Liverpool have got really, really good players. They've got good attacking intent. They're defensively, really, really good. You've got a good manager in Jurgen Klopp, who's, his intuition's really, really good. With Liverpool, he's tactically very, very good. His philosophy's good. And, he's, like I mentioned, Liverpool have invested really, really well. I know they didn't make any investment in the summer, but in the last couple of windows, they did a good investment in that. So it is, going to be a very, very, tough game. Jurgen Klopp hasn't won much in terms of silver. Obviously, last season he won the Champions League with Liverpool. That was his first major honour he won with Liverpool. Before he was at Liverpool, I think he won a couple of, titles with Dortmund. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult game. But I think even if we are to suffer a defeat or a heavy defeat to Liverpool, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, should be safe. That's what recent reports have also indicated out anywhere. Yeah. So the main part of this video is, was to give you the news of what Ryan Giggs has come out and said, and also, give you the rest of the other latest news. So that's about it. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.